Let's take a look at Tomura Shigaraki's character and see how much he's grown throughout MHA, because he began as a man-child but ended up as the ultimate vessel of destruction. So Shigaraki's original name was Tenko, and he was abused by his father and somewhat by his family. One day Tenko got lost on the street and this mysterious man brought him home, and this was the beginning of the end. Because after this, his quirk manifested and he could not control it at all. But since he couldn't control it, he accidentally kills his family. The crazy thing about this is that the mysterious man who brought Tenko home was actually All For One, and he gave Tenko this random quirk. All For One was pulling the strings the whole entire time, and then after Tenko killed his family, he went to the street looking for help. He was just a little boy who made a mistake. He was reaching out for help, but everybody who looked at him just passed him by. They did not care about this little boy. But then the mysterious man, All For One, pulls up and he reaches out his hand. AFO was behind all of this, and then he brings Tenko into his home and he plants the seed of hatred and destruction into Tenko. From this point forward, Tenko is hell-bent on revenge and destruction, and then All For One changes his name to Tomura Shigaraki. Then years pass and Shigaraki turns into a shut-in who loves video games. He doesn't really socialize well and he's kind of awkward, but he still has that revenge in his heart. Since he's All For One's successor, All For One has the tools for Shigaraki to enact his revenge. He wants to kill All Might, so what All For One does is he sends him to the USJ where Yuei's at. All Might defeats Shigaraki, and Shigaraki has to go back and wait for another time to attack. So Shigaraki's next move of destruction is to attack Hosu with no moves. And again, guys, it does not work. The heroes are there to fight, and Stain is there as well. Shigaraki's plan of destruction fails, and then it goes on to season 3. Shigaraki changes it up, he gets some allies, he creates the League of Villains, and they go attack Yuei at the Forest Training Camp arc. Their goal was to hurt the heroes, but their main objective was to capture Bakugo. He succeeds, but by doing this, he leads the heroes straight to him, and they find his base of operations, and they have Shigaraki right in his hand, so basically, he fails again. Everything backfired in Shigaraki's face, but then All For One's right there to save him, and All For One fights All Might, and he tells Shigaraki to keep on fighting, to keep following the path of destruction and hatred that he's been on this whole entire time. So All For One is defeated and captured, and the whole entire League of Villains in Shigaraki is on the road. They got no housing, no food, no money, so they're basically homeless and they're just thugging it out. In season 4, they're not that big of a threat and they're just behind the scenes. But they get attention in season 5, and this time the villains' enemies aren't the heroes, but it's just other random villains, and they're at war with the League. And the fight he has with them pushes Shigaraki beyond his limits, and he awakens. Shigaraki just reassures himself through everything he's been through. His goal to destroy and change society must be completed, and he will not falter. He awakens, and he has more control of his quirk now, and Decay is just so much stronger now, and he defeats his enemies. At this moment, Shigaraki becomes one with himself, and he realizes like, hey, I am not that strong. So Shigaraki undergoes a procedure to make himself stronger. Dr. Garaki is behind everything, and he is amping up Shigaraki's power with his science. Shigaraki thought he'd be asleep for a few months to undergo this procedure, but nah, the heroes attack and wake him up early. So at this moment, Shigaraki is stronger because of the procedure, but he gets ganged up by the heroes. He was doing his best, but it was not enough, and eventually All For One has to take over Shigaraki's body just to survive. And at this moment, Shigaraki and All For One basically combine. And then Shigaraki has an identity crisis after this while he defeats Star. But to Shigaraki, it doesn't matter because innately, he just wants to destroy. And by having All For One in his body, he is still able to destroy. And this goes into the final war where the heroes are fighting the villains. And Shigaraki is fighting the top heroes, but he is still stronger than them. He gets pushed back by them, but he's just way stronger. And the only challenge he has is when Deku pulls up and he gives him a run for his money. When Deku and Shigaraki fight each other, this is when Shigaraki is actually neutralized. Deku is able to stall Shigaraki from destroying anything for a lot of chapters. And then it goes to their final fight, which takes place in volume 41. Deku gives Shigaraki All For One, and this takes them into the Vestige world. When they're there, Deku saves Shigaraki from his abusive father. He stops him from killing his family, and Deku basically saves Shigaraki. This is what Shigaraki always wanted, and he was saved. But at the peak of his destruction, All For One takes over his body. AFO was behind everything, and at this moment, he was still pulling the strings. Then All For One essentially kills Shigaraki off. Since Deku is so persistent, he is able to defeat All For One from the outside. Shigaraki is able to defeat All For One from inside the Vestige world. So Deku and Shigaraki defeat All For One together, and Deku's last interaction with Shigaraki is that you destroyed everything. Shigaraki caused so much destruction, he did basically accomplish his goal. This is going to be a long video, but Shigaraki grew a lot in this series, and he became a man who is capable to execute his dream. Let me know what you think of Shigaraki's journey. It was a good one.